I want to talk about Pesach. And the reason I want to talk about Pesach is coming up. It's coming up a lot faster than we think. I don't think anybody wants to talk about Pesach. That is what nobody wants to do. I have not cleaned my car, my house, anything. Have you done anything to get ready for Pesach yet? I mean, maybe you've made spiritual preparations. That's not bad. Wow, you hear this guy?
I have an apartment.
He's ahead.
Yeah, we stopped buying chametz.
Oh yeah, I haven't even done that.
So we're just using it.
No, I am Kishita in denial until Rosh Chodesh. Until Rosh Chodesh Nisan, I am in denial. There is no Pesach. But I want us to prepare for Pesach, at least spiritually. So I want to talk to you about Pesach. I want to talk to you about the Haggadah. And it was last time we did davening. I think the time before that, we did something from Saita. That rings a bell.
Oh, I remember that.
Right?
Yeah.
So we usually do things that are seasonal. Right now, I get to talk to you before you have Pesach. I want to give you some thoughts that you can use at the Seder. So that's the idea. Give you some Seder thoughts, some ideas going into Pesach. And in order to talk about the Seder, in order to talk about the Haggadah, I want to emphasize, first of all, the Chaim.
Come on.
I want to emphasize just how old the Haggadah is. I assume people know that this is a very, very old book. And I know that's kind of a thing that we take for granted by Yidden. All of our books are pretty old. But this one's older than most of our other books. Besides Tanakh, this is one of our oldest books. This goes back to the Anshe Knesset Agdela. Most of the Haggadah we've had since the Anshe Knesset Agdela. That means we've had most of the Haggadah in its current form, unaltered for 2,000 years. It's kind of wild. In around the year 900, Rav Amram Gaon got involved and started adding some stuff. The Anshe Knesset Agdela, that's the author. Rav Amram Gaon put together a siddur. Rav Amram Gaon put together a siddur in like the year 940 or something in the common calendar, the Geisha calendar. So like 1,000 years ago, he got involved and he put it all together the way that it had been by the Anshe Knesset Agdela. He added a couple fan favorites. He added Dayenu. At least people think he added Dayenu. He appears to have added Halach Manya. That's also a very popular one. So he added some fan favorites, I will admit. But at the same time, the Haggadah is essentially unaltered for 2,000 years. We don't have books that old. Certainly not liturgical books that old. When it comes to things that we say and we daven, a lot of this stuff is pretty new. Tillim's older, that's for sure, because Tillim's from David HaMelech. But the actual Seder, putting things together in an order that people say, the Haggadah is really, really old. Prior to the Anshe Knesset Agdela putting the Haggadah together, presumably people sat down and just said Magid. That they did this, they did the mitzvahs, and then they sort of freestyled the Magid, at least I assume, or they had different traditions in Magid. The author of Magid is the Anshe Knesset Agdela. The Anshe Knesset Agdela got together and wrote the current Magid that we have.
And then they did it again with the Haggadah? What do you mean?
No, they wrote the Haggadah. The Haggadah contains the Magid.
Before the Haggadah, people said Magid.
I'm saying, I think they sat down and like made their own Magid. They kind of like, a father sat down at the table and told his children, we were in Mitzrayim, we got out.
Magid.
Right, like a freestyle Magid. Yeah, every table had their own Magid. I assume there was some sort of standardization even before the Anshe Knesset Agdela, knowing the way this usually works in Jewish history. There were a couple different standard forms, and the Anshe Knesset Agdela redacted it into one like big thing. Anyway, the point here is, this has been unchanged for like 2,000 years. And I really unchanged for 1,000 years, that's for sure. Since Rav Amram Gaon made his additions that we all use, the Haggadah is pretty much the same thing for 1,000 years, and that's awesome to me that you find this in Ashkenaz, Sfard, Chabad. There's like word differences in Haggadahs. You ever notice that in the different Haggadahs there's like no differences? Do you have different Haggadahs around your house? I used to collect them when I was younger. I have like 50 different Haggadahs.
The Maxwell House.
Besides Maxwell House, everybody needs a Maxwell House in their collection.
I love that.
Right?
That's right.
Oh, yeah,
so
yeah.
besides the Maxwell House, no, there's many different versions of Haggadahs and Nuschais, and there are small differences in like word pronunciation. In Chabad we say Heilach Manya instead of Halach Manya. You have word, but you don't have really a difference in the Haggadah. The Haggadah is the Haggadah. Kadesh, Orchatz, Karpatz, Yachatz, and the Magid goes pretty much the same every single time.
Rambam had a little different.
Slight difference. We're talking differences that are barely noticeable. The Haggadah is the Haggadah, and the Haggadah was the Haggadah until something like, I don't know, 60 years ago when people started getting creative. About 60 years ago, now it's already longer, maybe it's more like 80 years ago. About 80 years ago, people started putting out creative Haggadahs. I don't mean to knock the children's Haggadahs. I think they're kind of cute. My kids have a Lego Haggadah that I'm quite fond of. Have you seen the Lego Haggadah?
I just heard about it. What's the whole thing?
They just made the Haggadah, but there's pictures of Lego guys.
Oh, okay.
Like it's Lego Party. It's cute. I'm not knocking the Lego Haggadahs, but about 80 years ago, shortly after the Holocaust, some people got together and decided it would be a good idea to put together a Holocaust Haggadah. And the theory of the Holocaust Haggadah, and it's published to this day. There were a bunch of people who put it together. There were a bunch of different versions of it. Pretty much everybody in the Jewish world all at once decided that it was very difficult for Yidden to relate to Yetzias Mitzrayim, and it would make a lot more sense for Yidden to relate to being slaves in the concentration camps and being liberated from the camps. So a bunch of Yidden all at once introduced Holocaust Haggadahs. One of them made it into the internment camps. This is not the one I'm talking about, but there were literally, the internment camps after the concentration camps.
What was that?
After the concentration camps, there were these POW camps that they were put in afterwards for a while. The DP camps, yeah. So the DP camps, not POW, the DP camps, excuse me. So they were there for a while. And while they were there, they did a Pesach Seder. I believe they modified it a little bit. So in any event, you have these newer Haggadahs, and they're excited. They're having an evening. It's Mishmar, You seem offended.
No, the problem is later on.
Yeah, later on we'll regret it. Later, yeah. Right, newer? Nice. Newer Haggadahs. Oh, very funny because it's the name of the bag. Hello. How you doing? I'm just getting started. So I said newer Haggadahs started to come out, and one of the newer Haggadahs, these Holocaust Haggadahs, I think it was the year 1973. I think it was the year 1973. Somebody put out a Haggadah that was supposed to change the story of the Haggadah, not change it, modify it to make it a Holocaust-themed Haggadah. And they sent a letter to the Rebbe asking for Haskama. They wanted the Rebbe to write an approbation on the front of this Haggadah. And the Rebbe was not interested in writing an approbation for this Haggadah. But the Rebbe's response, I think, is very telling. The reason why I want to tell you about the Rebbe's response actually is because it ended up impacting me personally. I was on Shlichus years ago, not that many years ago, 3.5, 4 years ago I was on Shlichus. I was a Chabad at Ithaca College, that's right, a Chabad on campus. I guess I've told you guys stories about it before. Here's one I didn't tell you before.
Columbia College.
That's right. Here's one I didn't tell you. You guys have better memories than anybody. It's fantastic. Here's a story I didn't tell you last time. We used to do a Pesach Seder, and it was very popular. Chabad Pesach Seders, Sdarim are very popular. People like Chabad Seders on college campuses. If your choice is Hillel or Chabad for a Seder, you go to Chabad. The food's better, and there's generally more people. I mean, you've probably seen some of these very famous ones. We have one in I forget where. Does anybody know where the giant Chabad Seder is? It's somewhere in Thailand. They have a Seder there that's got like 1,000 people at it. So Seder's one of the things we do really well. People tend to come to it. We had a Pesach Seder, and hundreds of students came to the Pesach Seder, and some students went to the Hillel Seder. So we had a Hillel on our campus, and you guys probably know that there are Hillels in there.
What is the Hill?
Hillel is the other campus organization to help Yidden with their Yiddishkeit.
Non-Orthodox.
Lav Davka. So Lav Davka. That's what I'm about to tell you. It's really a Lav Davka. It depends on where you go. So I've been told for years that University of Maryland, they have a Hillel there that puts other Charedim to shame in its Charedishkeit. I mean, it's like a black hat Hillel. So that absolutely they have Hillels that are straight up like from Hillels where they'd be comfortable in Mea Sha'arim at that Hillel. And then you have other kinds of Hillels. You have other kinds of Hillels where I don't know, the Avis Nimos would blush if they heard of such a Hillel. So you have really a runs the gamut. We at Ithaca College had the other kind of Hillel. We had one of the Hillels that was not particularly observant. Our Hillel, I had to call them up one time to complain because they were holding a bagel brunch on Pesach. So to give you an idea of my Hillel. So we had a special Hillel. The Hillel we had at Ithaca College was special. They wanted to have bagels on Pesach. And for Seder, they wanted to do one of these real progressive Sedarms. Their progressive Seder was that they added extra things to the Seder plate. That's right. You know about the orange. Do you know about the artichoke?
No, I
The two big ones right now are the orange and the artichoke. I am here
And
from.
what did it represent?
I'll tell you. Don't worry.
Listen,
I'm coming from. I'm coming from behind enemy lines. God forbid enemy lines. All Jews are friends, but I'm here to tell you what you can't find out at a Frum Seder. Here's what you'll find at a I don't know, progressive Seder, alternative progressive Seder nowadays. So you'll definitely find the orange and the artichoke. This is mandatory. The orange is for members of the LGBT community who also are. Hey, Maya Bais and Nates. Don't give me this. Come on, it's on every Seder plate. I didn't do it. Why are you mad at me? Be mad at the Hill. Oh wait, it gets much worse because actually that's not the worst thing on the Seder plate. By comparison, the orange is actually not so bad. The idea behind the orange, which I'm going to oppose in a moment, but the idea behind the orange is that there's a historically marginalized group of people. Let's include them in our Seder. The artichoke will drive you absolutely up the wall. The artichoke is to encourage intermarriage. Now that one you got to have a problem. So compared to the orange, actually compared to the orange, the artichoke's actually so much worse. The orange doesn't seem that bad anymore, right?
No,
the orange, right. So actually, if you have to ask me the orange versus artichoke, I'll keep the orange. Anyway, I had students who came to me, concerned students, and you got to understand that things really have changed in the past couple years. But when I was there 5 years ago, when we were having this conversation with my students, I'm sorry I've upset you. I didn't do it, I promise. It wasn't me. So 5 years ago, this was even more wild on college campuses. It was a moment for this stuff. And I had students who cared a lot about Yiddishkeit, who were growing in their frumkeit, coming closer to Shabbos, closer to Kashrus, who were going to be keeping Pesach for the first time, were very excited about the Chabad Seder, and wanted to do things the traditional way. But at the same time, they'd been hearing that any Seder plate that doesn't have an orange and an artichoke on it hates people. So they came to me and they said, can we please have a non-hateful Seder, an inclusive Seder, a Seder that welcomes everybody to the table? And I said, first of all, what the heck is the orange? So I had to be educated. Why would I put an artichoke? Is the orange like karpas, like bad karpas? I don't.
What is it?
Does anybody know from Rav Teitz? There's a minig. Rav Teitz has a weird minig by karpas. You know it?
Yeah.
Yeah, bananas?
Banana.
I love it. The Rev Teitz banana milk. So I'm like, is this like a banana thing? No, it's not. It's an orange is separate. Artichokes.
What's the banana?
What the banana?
Banana into salt water.
Rev Teitz says that you can use, and by the way, he's not wrong. Of course, it's an adama. It tastes good in salt water. You can slice it nice and thin, so you don't have enough to make a problem for kazaya. Sure, you can have a banana for karpas.
It was from his father-in-law, right?
It was to show people that didn't have to be green.
No, that is bananas were dama.
Oh, to teach people that bananas are dama. I love it as a teachable moment. I think it's a really cute thing to bring up at the Seder. You show up the banana, you teach everybody in the room it's a dama. Teach them it doesn't have to be green, although you can buy green bananas if it makes you happy. Anyway, I thought maybe it was that. So they explained to me that the orange is for historically marginalized communities, and the artichoke is to invite intermarried people into our Seder. And my reaction was to vomit a little in my mouth. But after I was done, there's a culture shock here. But at the same time, these are students. These people who are asking me this are not people who are coming to attack Yiddishkeit. Those are the people who came up with it in the first place. The students who came to me were saying, we want to be frum. We want to be involved in Yiddishkeit. We want to have a frum Seder.
We don't want hate.
We just don't want hate. So would you be willing to, we want to have our frum Seder with you, we want to keep Pesach properly, we want to have matzah, mara, we want to do it right. Would you mind, in honor of marginalized communities and people who don't always feel welcome at the Seder, adding these two things to your Seder plate? And of course the answer was no, but the question was, how do you say no in a way that also recognizes what they're feeling, but explains to them why they're wrong? That's the thing, is that the trick of a lot of shlichus is explaining why somebody's incorrect while also not denying what they're feeling. You're feeling what you're feeling and you're still wrong is kind of the rallying cry of Chabad Lubavitch. You're feeling what you're feeling but you're wrong is what we do, right? I'll give you an example. Here's the biggest example. Somebody comes to me and says that they have a non-Jewish boyfriend or girlfriend, they want to marry them, they're madly in love. I believe you're madly in love, but don't do it, right? You still can't. So acknowledging that people feel what they feel, but telling them don't is kind of our MO. Yes?
No, it's just they came to you, they said they want to be from, they want to do it the right way.
That's right.
But yet you want to add these two things that are literally a bastardization